guys, welcome back to GeekWaresASMR for another true crime video. I hope that this works. I hope that this is a third time's a charm kind of thing. This is the third computer and the second microphone I've used, and the third time I'm filming this particular case. And if it doesn't work, I might just chuck everything out the window. Anyway, to my patrons, I'm sorry that you did not get a video last week at all. Usually, if it's not on Sunday, it's on Monday. But again, if you're seeing this, you'll have one tonight, okay? Love you so, so much. Alright, this case does involve the mistreatment and death of a child. If that bothers you, I totally understand. Please click off. I'll be back soon with another not child-involved video. I still love you. And I'm gonna get right into it. Okay. And then, oh, wait. Before I get right into it, this case is crazy, y'all. The more that I researched it, the more I was like, what is happening? This goes down as one of the weirdest cases I've ever covered. So, get ready. Okay. I gotta go back up because I was refreshing. Alright. On August 29th of 2013, 999 receives a phone call from a woman named Kiki Mudar. She reported that her 33-year-old roommate, Polly Chaudhry, had attempted to unalive herself after finding her 8-year-old daughter, Ayesha, deceased. When the paramedics arrive, they find Ayesha in her bedroom, unresponsive. She was unclothed except for a pair of pink underthings, and despite the paramedics' best efforts, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Near and around Ayesha's body, police discovered notes written by Polly. One of them claimed that Ayesha had tried to unalive herself, and that Polly was unable to revive her. Polly herself was rushed to the hospital, and she survived, and was then taken into medical care. Within hours of being released from the hospital, she was under arrest for the murder of her own child. Now, at first glance, this really seems like a terrible tragedy, but investigators noticed something was off immediately. First, Kiki Mudar, the woman who called 999, really showed little interest in Ayesha's fate. Her concern, strangely, was focused solely on her roommate, Polly. Initially, all of the evidence pointed to Polly, but as detectives get deeper into this case, a far more disturbing story starts to emerge. And at the center of all of it, Kiki Mudar. So let's back up just a little. Polly Chaudhry was born in 1979 and raised in the vibrant neighborhood of Hampstead, London, by her Bangladeshi parents. Her early life was not easy. As a teenager, Polly fell pregnant, a situation that caused some pretty extreme tension in her strict household. And under her parents' pressure, this was terminated. Later, she entered into an arranged marriage, which did not work out very well. And eventually, Polly made the decision to leave it behind, which, as far as I know, is pretty also deeply spiritual. She believed in ghosts and spirits and the afterlife. So, in 1996, at the age of 17, Polly's life seems to take a turn for the better. She had been pregnant. She didn't have a baby. She'd gotten married. He was abusive. So she got a divorce. She's only 17 yet, okay? She's working as a legal secretary, and she meets a man named Afzar Ali. And the two of them quickly formed a serious connection. Their friendship turned into a blooming romance, and before long, they were married. Polly and Afzar built a home together in Chadwell Heath, a suburban area in East London, Essex. Together, they welcomed 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. In 2004, they celebrated the birth of Ayesha Ali, one of their 2 daughters. Ayesha was everything that a parent could hope for. She was described as happy, cheeky, intelligent, and loving. It was said that she brought joy into every room that she entered. Teachers, neighbors, and friends all spoke of her kindness, her zest for life, and even her early passion for helping others. Despite her young age, she was thoughtful, a child wise beyond their years. Her father, Afzar, adored Polly, and he loved each of their children deeply. He was hardworking and intelligent and committed to building a good life for his family. And for a while, things looked really good. Polly was happy, she had stability, she had love, she had her children, and it was all great, right? So what the heck happened by 2013, you're wondering? As investigators look closer at the cause of Ayesha's death, the full horror begins to emerge. Ayesha's body showed clear signs of intense and prolonged suffering. She had over 50 injuries, including a bite mark, severe carpet burns, and most critically, a head injury so severe that it was determined to be her cause of death. Pathologists concluded that Ayesha had died the day before the 999 call was submitted on August 28th. Now, this timeline directly contradicts Polly's account of what happened in her letters or notes or whatever. But medical evidence tells a different story. Polly had said in her letters that she claimed to have suffocated her daughter after a failed unaliving attempt in the bath. But Ayesha had suffered a major blow to the head and died as a result of it. That's not suffocation or drowning. With the scene fully examined, police turned their attention to the people closest to Ayesha in her final days. And that meant looking into Kiki Mudar, the woman who'd made the 999 call, and the person who had been in the house with both Polly and Ayesha at the time of Ayesha's death. They needed to understand who is this woman and what is her role in Ayesha's life and Polly's life. So little is known about Kiki's early years. Those who had crossed paths with her described her as reclusive, odd, and at times dishonest. She didn't appear to have many jobs, and she was quite known to embellish the truth. At one point, she even claimed that she worked for the London Olympics, and that she had a boyfriend who was killed in the riots. Neither of these things were true. she could influence completely. And that someone was Polly Chaudhry. Kiki herself lived alone back then. She had very few friends and little structure, and really not a lot going on in her life. That is until Polly and her husband Afsar moved in next door. And basically from that moment, Kiki was obsessed with Polly. She earned Polly's sympathies by telling her that she had terminal cancer. She inserted herself into Polly's life more and more, slowly taking up her time, her energy, and eventually her loyalty. By 2011, this situation had gotten really intense. Afsar really had started to notice how much influence Kiki had over his wife, and he was pretty uncomfortable by the strange dynamic between the two of them. So, in an act of sheer desperation, he moves his family away, hoping that this distance will break the hold that Kiki has upon his family. But their peace didn't last long. Kiki found them. She invited herself over to their new house, claiming that she was in pain from her recent cancer treatments and that she needed support. And what was meant to be just a short visit turned into something crazy. Kiki just never left. She demanded more and more of Polly's attention, and soon, which I can't, this is crazy, but she started to assert control over the household, and she demanded to sleep in bed with Polly. So one day, Afsar comes home from work, and he goes upstairs to his bedroom to rest, and Polly is up there, and she's like, "I'm sorry, Kiki will now be sleeping here, and you will have to sleep on the sofa." At this point, Afsar decides, "I'm not doing this," and they get a divorce. So in February of 2013, Polly moves into a new home in Chadwell Heath, taking her two youngest children with her. The oldest stayed with Afsar. As always, Kiki Mudar came too. With Afsar finally out of the picture, Kiki basically had everything that she wanted, Polly's full attention. But there were still two obstacles standing in the way of her having full control of Kiki's time. I'm sorry, Polly's time. And that would be Polly's children. So, in the months that followed, things get even more strange. And this is where I started going, what the heck is happening? After her split from Afsar, Polly started looking for love online. Despite her very intense and quite strange bond with Kiki, Polly insisted that she was still into men, and she started messaging several men online. I think on Facebook dating, but who knows. One of these men that she met was a man named Jimmy. In fact, Kiki introduced him to him, and Polly and Jimmy exchanged hundreds of messages and texts. He was affectionate, romantic, he sent her gifts, and Polly quickly fell in love with this man, despite the fact that they had never met face to face. Around the same time, Polly started getting messages from someone who called himself Sky Man. This person claimed to be Polly's spirit guide. Now remember, she is deeply religious, she's spiritual, she is following the Muslim faith, and this man says that he is a Muslim entity that will guide her through her life. And he started to give her instructions. He told her what to do. He dictated rules for her children, including when they should eat. He ran her life, basically, like, down to the minute. And to me, it's so bizarre that she would listen to this person, but okay. Things get even weirder, though, y'all. Now, Jimmy and Polly couldn't meet in person. I don't know why. Skyman tells Polly that Jimmy's spirit could live inside Kiki's body, and that Kiki was now a physical conduit for Jimmy. And Polly, so devout to this man, either one of them believes it. She believes that when she has physical interactions with Kiki, she is actually having physical interactions with her online boyfriend. Now, Kiki herself claimed to experience physical pain from her cancer that only miraculously subsided when Polly touched her. Give me a break. As time went on, Skyman's messages turned darker, especially towards Aisha. Texts included, "Your daughter will pay. Your daughter is evil. You did not discipline her today. You have no right to ever like or love your evil daughter." The abuse toward Aisha escalated both emotionally and physically, encouraged by Skyman and inflicted by Kiki and Polly. But who are these two online men, actually? And how did they get so much control over Polly? As investigators trace these messages, they uncover a disturbing truth. By the time Aisha Ali had died, she had already endured months of abuse at the hands of her mother and of her mother's housemate, Kiki. This abuse was systematic, escalating, and brutal, a disturbing mix of violence and psychological torment. Skyman had told Polly that Aisha was possessed, that she was evil, and that she needed punishment for ordinary things, like acting like a normal 8-year-old. Kiki and Polly would hit her with their hands or a wooden spoon. Aisha was often punished by being made to stand in cold baths, sometimes for bedwetting and sometimes just for minor misbehaviors. The situation worsened during the summer holidays of 2013 when Aisha was home all day, with no school and no teachers and no one really to check in on her. The abuse went unnoticed. One night in August, Kiki entered Aisha's room dressed in dark clothes and a Halloween mask, deliberately trying to scare the life out of her, basically. And 8-year-old Aisha is terrified, and she screams for her mother. And Polly rushes in, but instead of comforting her own child, she looks around, tells her daughter there's nothing there, tells her she is stupid and imagining things, even though Kiki is still standing in the room, and basically leaves Aisha alone again. The emotional toll on this 8-year-old child was enormous. One neighbor later told police that they could hear Aisha sobbing and crying in the night, that they could hear her pleading with her mother that she didn't want to be bad. That breaks my heart, y'all. And just a few weeks later, Aisha was gone. As detectives dig deeper, one of the strangest moments comes from when Kiki herself kind of inserts herself into this investigation. She calls the police to ask them how it's going. Like, what? It's an immediate red flag to the police, and she's especially curious about one particular thing. She wants to know if the police have found Jimmy yet. She even offers to help them track him down, claiming that he was part of a boxing club in Montford. Now, officers follow Kiki's lead and they visit every gym and club in the area where he may have trained. However, their search turned up nothing. There was no Jimmy. So officers quickly reach a conclusion that you may have arrived at yourself. Jimmy was a fabrication, and they suspected that Kiki was the one behind it. So they look at Jimmy's Facebook profile and trace the photo to its source. The man in the picture was real, but his name wasn't Jimmy. He was a man living in India who had no connection to Polly or Kiki whatsoever. When the police spoke with him, he confirmed that he had no clue who they were and that he had no idea that his identity was being used. So police start digging through the digital evidence. Through IP address tracing, they confirm that every single message from Jimmy had been sent from Kiki's phone and computer. But Jimmy wasn't the only persona. This girl went wild. She had built an entire fake world online, complete with family members, friends, a backstory, all designed to make her characters even more believable. She created Jimmy's sisters, his cousins, and all these other fake profiles to reinforce the illusion of this man. All of these people interacting with Polly to deepen her emotional investment in Jimmy, when in reality it was Kiki. The scale of deception in this case is staggering. Investigators pulled more than 190,000 lines of digital data from Kiki and Polly's devices. This includes more than 1,600 pages of Facebook messages, 1,500 audio recordings, 16,000 pages of messages, 1,500 audio recordings, and around 40,000 text messages. Kiki had created Jimmy to seduce Polly, knowing that Polly identified as heterosexual. She used Jimmy to manufacture a romantic relationship, and even convincing Polly that Jimmy's spirit was living inside Kiki's body, which is... So, when Polly was intimate with Kiki, she really thought she was being intimate with Jimmy, and that is bananas. To completely control Polly's thoughts and behavior, Kiki had to appeal to the spiritual side of Polly. Skyman, deeply spiritual. He appealed to Polly's vulnerable spirituality, and he was this divine presence in her life. But Skyman was also Kiki. If Polly didn't follow Skyman's instructions, she was told that there would be consequences. This online spirit guide, his authority was absolute, apparently, which, okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. As Kiki's grip on Polly tightened, the physical abuse against Aisha escalated. Investigators discovered that Kiki kept logs of Aisha's bad behavior, and the infractions were stupid. Often absurd things like setting her shoes in the wrong place or sighing too loudly. And among this evidence was something far more heartbreaking. Aisha kept her own journals, and in them she expressed this desperate desire to just change. She hoped that she could be better, and that if she could, her mother would love her again. She wrote about trying to be good, about wanting to stop being bad, not understanding that she wasn't the problem, she was a victim. This little girl, at just 8 years old, had been gaslit, manipulated, and abused until she believed that she was at fault for all of this. And it breaks my heart, because she died thinking that. And this is all because of Kiki Mudar. The extent of Kiki's hatred toward Ayesha was further revealed in a recorded phone conversation with a friend. made just 1 month before Ayesha's death. In this phone call, Kiki chillingly described Aisha as a witch and explicitly threatened to drown her, repeating this 20 times in this phone call alone. Girl, get a grip. With thousands of text messages, audio recordings, and Facebook data, and hours of CCTV footage, police began to piece together what they believe happened in the final 24 hours of 8-year-old Aisha's life. It was confirmed that both Polly and Kiki were inside the flat on August 28th. But even with the digital evidence, investigators could not determine who had struck the final blow. Neither woman confessed, and both of them refused to take any responsibility. Investigators believe that Aisha was subjected to a punishment cold bath that day after having wet herself. During the bath, she was physically assaulted. The pathologist confirmed that she died as a result of a traumatic head injury, likely caused by a flexible, blunt object. CCTV footage showed Kiki leaving the flat around 7 p.m., with Polly's other child heading to her parents' house. Polly herself stayed in that flat with Aisha's body and did nothing. The same day, Kiki was caught on CCTV footage buying a replacement shower hose and returning to the flat. Forensic analysis later concluded that the injuries Aisha suffered could have been caused by the shower hose. By the time emergency services were called, Aisha had already been gone for hours. With Polly already in custody, on October 1st, 2013, police then also arrest and charge Kiki Mudar with the murder of 8-year-old Aisha Ali. Detective Sergeant Andy Nimmo, who led the case, said the investigation took months of detailed work, including digital and forensic interviews. Police had to sift through an extensive network of the fake online identities, the hundreds of fabricated messages, and misleading statements from both women. January 2015, nearly 2 years after Aisha's death, Polly Chaudhry and Kiki Mudar stood trial. It was the first time that the two women had seen each other since their arrests. They both pled not guilty to all charges, and the jury was given 2 options: convict for murder or manslaughter. Both women insisted they were innocent and continued to claim that Jimmy and Skyman were real people. The prosecution was focused on proving that Aisha's death was not an accident, but a result of deliberate violence. With support from digital evidence, phone data, and CCTV footage, they demonstrated both women were present. However, they could not determine which of the two had actually delivered the fatal blow. Throughout their trial, their relationship was described as bizarre, with Kiki exerting profound psychological control over Polly. Evidence showed that the fake personas Kiki had created were used to seduce Polly, manipulate her, and eventually turn her against her own children. The fantasy world that Kiki had created through Facebook and text allowed her to exploit Polly's emotional vulnerabilities, to isolate her from Afzar, her ex-husband, and to paint her children as obstacles that needed to be removed. As the trial progressed, as you may have expected, the two women turned on each other. Polly took the stand and claimed that Kiki had administered the cold bath to Aisha as punishment for bedwetting, and that she had seen her with her foot on Aisha's chest. Polly said she had pushed Kiki away, but returned to her computer to continue looking for a job, leaving her daughter with Kiki in the bathroom. Kiki declined to give any evidence, maintaining that she had been at her parents' house at the time of Aisha's death. She denied all responsibility, choosing to blame Polly instead. In court, Kiki was repeatedly described as controlling, manipulative, and emotionally exploitive. Judge Christopher Moss diagnosed Kiki with borderline narcissistic personality disorder, a condition that helped explain her extreme need for control and domination over others. The court also heard how Polly, under Kiki's influence, deliberately kept Afzar away from Ayesha, even using court orders to prevent him from seeing his daughter, while the abuse was ongoing. Eventually, overwhelmed by the evidence against her, Kiki issued a statement through her lawyer, finally admitting that Jimmy had never existed. Oh, and also she never really had cancer, though she now claimed that Polly was the one that encouraged her to lie about her illness. When Polly heard this, sitting in the courtroom, she broke down into tears and fled, and the judge didn't order her to be stopped. It appeared to be the first time that she truly understood the full extent of what she allowed happen to her daughter. So I think that was the point where she realized this man that you're in love with, who you still think is real, is not real. Like, what? Okay. Anyway, the jury deliberated for 31 hours. Afzar Ali, Ayesha's father, sat in the courtroom throughout. And in the end, although the prosecution had proven clear intent and cruelty, they had not been able to confirm who had inflicted the final blow, so both women were found guilty of manslaughter. In his sentencing, Judge Moss said it was clear Ayesha had died as a result of assault, likely while being punished in the bathtub. He concluded that Kiki bore the lion's share of responsibility for both creating the violent dynamic in the home and for orchestrating the manipulation that ultimately led to Ayesha's death. And this is where I still got blown away, y'all. Despite the conviction for manslaughter, the sentences were unusually severe. Okay, unusually severe, due to the level of abuse and cruelty. Polly Chaudhry was sentenced to 13 years in prison. 13 years for murdering your own child. Kiki Mudar, who the court recognized as the primary manipulator and possibly the one who ordered or inflicted the fatal injury, only received 18 years. Outside court, Ayesha's father, Afzar, spoke to his lawyer. He had shown remarkable courage, attending every single day and holding back grief no parent should ever have to bear. And he said, "It is completely destroyed my life from now until the day I die." Afzar described his time in court as a way to relive Ayesha's life, to feel the pain his daughter had endured. His presence wasn't about revenge, it was honoring the little girl that he loved and lost. And he made one thing clear: he would never forgive Polly or Kiki for what they did. So here's the thing. After 3 months, both women appealed their sentences. And in November of 2015, the Court of Appeals reduced their sentences. The judges ruled that Kiki's 18-year sentence was manifestly excessive and lowered it to just 15 years. And Polly's sentence was cut from 13 to just 10 years. And oh, if you weren't keeping track of that, let's think about it. It's 2026. Polly, a mother who stood by and let her child be abused, manipulated, and killed, may be a free woman. And Kiki, who built this entire world of lies to isolate and destroy an innocent child, is nearing the end of her sentence. The truth is that 8-year-old Ayesha was failed at every turn, and most devastatingly by her own mother. Polly did not protect her. She listened to the voices of her phone and her computer rather than the voice of her own child. She chose delusion over motherhood. And Kiki, she didn't just manipulate, she orchestrated. She poisoned Polly's mind against her own kids, created fake characters to justify abuse of a child. She controlled every detail of Polly's life and even went as far as blaming Aisha for her worsening fictional cancer. I Ayesha targeted, so much so that they eventually killed her. Why not just let the children stay with Afzar, and y'all could just be happy-go-lucky and tra-la-la off into the sunset? Like, I don't understand the point. And what did you think would happen? That's what, in all of these cases, every time I report on something like this, I'm like, did you not think you would go to jail? Did you think that you would murder your child and not go to jail? Like, I don't understand the way that some of these people think. And it just absolutely blows my mind. Just blows my mind. And the fact that Crazy Kiki, because that's what we're going to be calling her, Crazy Kiki developed this entire world of people on Facebook. Not just one person to catfish her, but the man had families, and all these people also talked to Paul. How do you keep up with all of this? How do you remember all of your lies? How do you talk to, like, say you're sitting in the living room and you're texting, like, how does Polly not notice that when you respond, he responds? Like, that doesn't, I don't know. I think that Polly just desperately wanted someone to love her, and so, for whatever reason, she fell for this Jimmy guy, and he made her happy or whatever. But then to take the word of a divine spiritual entity that you met online and abuse your child, there are some serious delusions going on in this case. And honestly, I have no words to explain how sad it makes me that Aisha was a victim of all of these delusions, when she could have just gone to live with her father, and Kiki and Polly and Jimmy and Skyman could have just lived happily ever after. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here today. My apologies for my extended absence. Again, I don't even know if this works. This computer has no speakers, so I couldn't test it. It looks like everything's okay. I'm mostly in sync with the camera. Audio's picking up, but it might sound like junk, because that's what happened last time. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I will see you soon for another video. Once I get everything set up, then I'll be able to film more, because I got so frustrated last week that I literally was like, I quit. I just quit.